How's it going, everyone? I'm Jakejames Lugo, and welcome to the channel, where you'll find some of the most honest and fair game reviews out there. And today we're talking about an interesting crossover that nobody saw coming whatsoever, even back in the day. Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. Now I have to give a big shout out to the anonymous fan that sent me this game to do this video for you guys. It's thanks to them that this is even possible, so big thank you for this, but let's just dive right into this thing because there's just so much to unpack with this crazy crossover. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe is a crossover fighting game that was released in 2008 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It was the very last installment of Mortal Kombat that was published by Midway Games, right before they went bankrupt in 2009 and sold off the series to Warner Bros. Entertainment. It was a crazy thing to see the worlds of Mortal Kombat and DC Comics crossing over. Scorpion fighting Batman? Why the heck not? Sounds awesome, right? I was one of those people that was super hyped for this before it came out. Little did I know back then, huh? The thing you need to understand is that prior to this, we never really saw a crossover done with Mortal Kombat. Only Capcom had done something like this with the Marvel vs. Capcom series, so if it worked out good for them, then it had to be a good idea for Mortal Kombat, right? We'll get to that eventually. Trust me. Anyway, the story of this game has characters from the DC Comics meeting up with the fighters of Mortal Kombat, with their respective dimensions merging together. Emperor Shao Kahn and the new god Darkseid are merged together after being defeated and knocked into a portal by Raiden and Superman respectively. This causes them to become one evil being known as Dark Khan, which for the record is the lamest name that they could have come up with. This causes the universes to merge and create all types of havoc between Earth and Earthrealm. Heroes on both sides start appearing in random places within both universes, leading to some crazy encounters and wild dream matches. On top of that, the merge is causing a side effect in people called rage. This turns them into irrational powerhouses that go on a rampage, attacking anybody nearby. With both sides thinking that the other is the cause of everything, you have a setup for a comic book crossover event crisis between two major IPs. But does this make for the most awesome crossover ever, or an absolute disaster of epic proportions?
This is where Scorpion first entered the mortal realm. What was he doing here? What is this place?
It's the Batcave.
Now from the jump, this game just has bad news written all over it. I'm not a huge fan of the story here. I think that there's way too many things that happen because of coincidence rather than just clever writing and clever, circumstance. It's just so weird and just awkward, and it's kind of bad. It's just really terrible. If you compare it to some of the other work that the Midway and the Mortal Kombat team really worked on before and after MK vs. DCU. The one thing I will say that is very interesting and actually a really good positive of this game is that you get to see a lot of different locations from both the Mortal Kombat and DC universe. We get to go to Oa, we go to the Fortress of Solitude, the Batcave, as well as the Shaolin Temple from Deadly Alliance from Mortal Kombat. That's actually pretty darn cool. I wish we got to see more locations in various different spots. I wish there was a lot more stages to fight on, but for the ones that we did get, there are some cool nods and cool Easter eggs that if you're a Mortal Kombat fan or a DC fan, you're definitely going to appreciate. Now, unfortunately, some of the big things that I really disliked, in relation to the story, is that there's certain characters from both universes that we just don't get to see. No Reptile whatsoever, no Goro, or any of the other side mini-bosses. For whatever reason, all those characters from the MK universe are just gone, nowhere to be seen. At the same time, we don't even get a really big, mystic or some sort of magic user like Dr. Fate. I know we have Shazam and that makes sense, but Dr. Fate is usually the one that you see in most big crisis event level type of stuff with the DC Comics, and it would have made sense to see his appearance within this game, but for whatever reason, maybe they didn't have the rights to Dr. Fate or some other legal marble jumbo that was going on behind the scenes, but that's just something that I felt was a huge missed opportunity. Now that we got all of that out the way, my God, Jesus Christ, let's talk about this gameplay, because this right here is probably the main reason why this game is not popular. It's pretty darn crazy. As much as I love playing the Mortal Kombat games, I can't help but feel incredibly disappointed with how this one turned out. The most accurate way that I could describe the fighting in Mortal Kombat vs. DCU is that it feels seriously off. Everything in the game needs to be severely adjusted to have a better sense of balance and stability. You have a roster of 22 playable characters with their own unique special moves and combos, only here it's split evenly between the Mortal Kombat and DC universes. While there's certain strategies that a few characters are meant to utilize, everyone ends up fighting the same way due to the wonky hit detection and the balance of the combat. Some moves feel downright broken and overpowered, while others are just completely useless. Luckily, there's some universal techniques that everyone can use, like the close combat and the freefall combat. It's a short minigame that's done in the middle of a match where you ram an opponent through buildings or knock them into the air and start freefalling while beating the crap out of each other. It looks cool the first few times that you do it, but it ends up getting annoying when you're constantly having it pop up during matches. I honestly could have done without them. The balance of everything else is where the game really starts to suffer. There were plenty of times where my attacks would randomly miss an opponent, even when I was up close. Other times I'd see attacks connect in the most ridiculous of ways with crazy hitboxes. It just flat out looks terrible. I've played a lot of Mortal Kombat games, and I can confidently say that this one feels like the absolute worst one that I've ever played. It's like it was rushed out before anyone could really test out and balance every move within the game.
Finish him! Scorpion wins. Fatality.
As if that wasn't bad enough, Mortal Kombat vs. DCU just doesn't have a lot of things to do in it. The story mode is split between two sides, with alternate events happening between the MK and the DC characters. Each story playthrough lasts about an hour and has the same conclusion by the end. Once you finish both stories, all there is to do is the arcade mode and the combo challenges. And real talk, neither one of them is going to keep you busy for very long. The combo challenges are nearly impossible to complete for any one character, mostly because the timing for the combos they give you is super strict and very impractical. After a bit, I just gave up on doing them flat out of pure frustration. They're just not fun to do. Unless you're a die-hard fighting game fan, you're going to be done with this game before you realize it. I should also mention that the online mode for this game is completely dead. This isn't a fault of the game, however, but a cause of GameSpy going offline years ago. It happened when things started to change up for PSN and Xbox Live back in the day, and online games had a very different approach to connecting people over the internet. So don't expect to match up with people online with this. Outside of that, you're going to find very little to enjoy within Mortal Kombat vs. DC universe, no matter how hard you try.
You seek to destroy me. Good. Give in to your rage. Unleash your aggression. Fight!
Now let me add here that there is very little unlockables and extra content within MK vs. DCU. You do get to play as Darkseid as a playable character, and he kind of rounds out the roster once you finish the main story for both sides. That's kind of cool. However, you don't get to unlock anybody else. There's no bonus content, there's no like extra concept art or anything like that. I mean, you do get to see the endings for the arcade mode once you complete each character. That's kind of cool, that's fine. But compared to all the other Mortal Kombat games, especially the ones that came out right before this game, you don't hardly get anything like whatsoever. No cooking with Scorpion, no extra like bonus movies or concept art or concept movies or anything of that sort. There's nothing here. It's so barren, it's so shallow. And you would think, utilizing the DC comics with the other Mortal Kombat stuff, there would be like a lot of stuff to show, but we get absolutely nothing whatsoever. And of course, we have to talk about the big thing that is a huge disappointment for just about everybody that plays this game. The fatalities or the heroic brutalities for some of these characters. Clearly, this was a thing behind the scenes with Warner Brothers or DC Comics where they didn't want Superman or Batman killing characters to maintain their integrity. Funny enough, after this game came out, in games like Injustice, we get to see characters like Superman kill all over the place. It's like, it's absolutely insane. But this game in particular really suffered because of that. Granted, the DC villains and also the Mortal Kombat characters, they do have their fatalities, their finishing moves and stuff, but they're so like below par for what the franchise has done in the past. And the crazy thing is, this is supposed to be Mortal Kombat 8. This is canon to the mainline series, and this is just such like a disappointment. It's just so crazy how they thought this was acceptable. Like everything about this, between the gameplay, like with the core fighting, the finishing moves, the fatalities and heroic brutalities, the extras, everything about this is so like low tier in comparison to everything else, man. It's just so dumbfounding. Well, if you can't already tell by now, can I recommend that you guys play Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe on the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360? Hell no, absolutely not. This game is trash. This was a thing that happened back in the day that could have been awesome, but ended up being a total dud. I really like the idea of two major companies coming together for a massive crossover. We've seen this done so many times with Capcom and Marvel back in the day, but what we got here from Mortal Kombat, which should have been awesome, it should have been something really special and really unique, just ended up being like something so mediocre and disappointing that it almost makes me never want to see them get crossed over with anything else ever again. If you're someone that just loves playing Mortal Kombat games or just fighting games in general, you could probably check this out and get a laugh out of it, but understand this thing is like so bad and like so terrible, you can't really go in expecting like high quality stuff from other games that I know for a fact are so much better and so much more worth your time.
Scorpion wins.
And there you go, everyone. Those are my thoughts about Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. My god, yo, this should have been so much better. I mean, look at this cover. You got Scorpion fighting Batman. This should be a recipe for awesomeness, especially as a young kid if you're looking at this. But alas, this ended up being total garbage. So it is what it is, but thank you to the fan that sent that to me. I've been wanting to review that game for quite some time, and I'm glad I finally got to do so in a critical sense, but my god, yo, sometimes not everything could be a winner. But as always, with any game that I review on this channel, that's just my opinion about Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. Let me know your thoughts about the game down below in the comments section. Tell me, are you a big Mortal Kombat fan? Are you a big DC fan? What about this game that you wanted to see that just didn't happen? Or what are some of your other favorite crossover games that are out there that might be fighting games or RPGs or anything else that you could think of? Talk to me about that stuff down below in the comments section. Thanks a bunch for watching the video. I really appreciate it a ton. I'll have more videos for you to enjoy here on the side that I know you'll love. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon too. Don't forget to visit my Patreon linked below for early access to new videos every week, and join the Discord server too. It's linked in the description box below. You'll definitely love being a part of it. Thanks again, peace out, and stay epic, everybody.